Getting Started in Undergraduate Research. My name is Fabian Darcila, and I'm a rising second year majoring in biomedical engineering, and I serve as a member of the new student orientation core team in the Office of Student Transitions Family Engagement. Today's webinar will provide insight into the undergraduate research at Hopkins, including the opportunities available to students, resources offered by the Hopkins Office of Undergraduate Research, also known as OUR. Please feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation using the Q&A feature. We will answer as many questions as possible during the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. If we're unable to answer your question during our time together, please contact first year at JHU, and we will make sure that you're connected to the appropriate resources. The webinar will be posted in the same website you'd registered within a few days in case you want to go ahead and watch it again. Thank you. And now we have Deborah to introduce us to the undergraduate research here at JHU.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to see that there are so many of you attending. It's very heartwarming every year as we welcome our incoming students, our incoming undergraduates, most of whom are incoming freshmen, but also we welcome some transfer students every year. My name is Deborah Bufflin, and I am the Undergraduate Research Program Manager for OUR, which is the Hopkins Office for Undergraduate Research. I'm going to just quickly move back one slide for anybody who may not have yet completed the pre-survey for this webinar. It's really important that folks answer the one question. It's two questions. Who are you and what do you know about this topic? So you can use the QR code or you can use the link that's currently in the chat to quickly answer that one question. And then at the end, we will have a follow-up survey. How comfortable do you now feel with this material? And that helps us know whether we're getting the job done in terms of answering the questions that most people have as you embark on your students' undergraduate research journey. So let's go ahead and dive in. Research at Hopkins and where undergraduates fit in. All right, so let's talk about what we know about undergraduates and Hopkins and research and the intersection of those. So Hopkins is the first or oldest research university in the Western Hemisphere. And so many of you may know about Hopkins because we've led the US in research and development spending every year since 1979. We have faculty across every possible discipline that you can think of, engaging in world-class research. We have Nobel laureates. We have various distinguished award winners. They're all here and they're all available. But what do we know about the undergraduate experience? Well, for one thing, we do know that an R1 university means that research is the number one priority. It's interesting for many people to learn that actually granting degrees is secondary to the research that's going on. Of course, it's very, very important. Graduate students are getting degrees and undergraduates, but research is the driving force of this engine. And prior to 2017, undergraduates were kind of an afterthought. No longer is that the case. Undergraduates have always been engaged in research, but it's been a somewhat informal way that they've managed to do it. But since 2017, the OUR office has been here to help every undergraduate who wants to engage in a meaningful research experience to find their way, to navigate that experience, to make sure that it's impactful, and then to leverage it for what they want to do next. We're part of a team of offices that are interested in the experiential learning that the student is engaging in. These are activities that the student engages in outside of their credit granting experiences in classrooms. And these include the Life Design Lab, which focuses on eventual career services, experiential learning, which is student employment while the student is at Hopkins, and global education, which is study abroad. So the four of us, including OUR, help to add value to the students' undergraduate experience while they're here at Hopkins. It's important for folks to know that there are two of us at OUR, my boss, Director Tracy Smith, and myself, and we serve all Hopkins undergraduates, but we do manage to reach just about every student who wants to find their way to us, but they have to do a little bit of the lifting by coming to us and letting us know what they need. All right, Let's talk about the undergraduate research experience and where students fit in into the culture today. Almost every undergraduate that I speak with says that access to world-class research is one of the top two reasons they applied to and accepted the offer from Hopkins. About 90% of Hopkins undergrads do participate in an extracurricular research experience during their undergraduate time. Does it always happen at Hopkins? No. Does it always happen in fall and spring? No. But they do have world-class university level experiences. And we know this from what's called a first destination study survey, where we ask students in the years following their graduation, where are you? What are you doing? What have you done? And when you reflect back on your experience, which resources and services were most important and impactful to you? Research occurs in every field, department, and major. Remember, Hopkins is an R1 university, and that means faculty in every discipline are engaged in research. The typical undergraduate research experience in fall and spring is about 6 to 10 hours a week, where they're volunteering in some sort of a research setting that's not always a lab. We sometimes fall into the habit of speaking in STEM language, but again, with this could be archaeology, it could be sociology, it could be any of the arts and sciences, humanities, social sciences, STEM, including the engineering and physical sciences. So if I fall into that kind of language and that's not resonating with you, please understand it can happen in any discipline. Um, some majors require students to complete up to six credits of independent research for their degree, but all the rest do not. However, there is plenty of room in most academic curricula to allow students time to engage in independent research for credit or not for credit. Most clinical research and shadowing opportunities are uncompensated. I'll be talking about that a little bit more later, but it's important for us to acknowledge right at the start that when experiences are uncompensated, it is inherently inequitable because not everybody can afford to give up their time to do whatever that thing is. Some students come to Hopkins and they need to work 20 hours a week in order to be able to pay their bills or have enough money to travel home, etc. And we are very aware of that and working to make sure that no student is left out because of the opportunity cost of working uncompensated. All researchers in all divisions are available. Does that mean every researcher in every division wants to help undergraduate students get started in their field? Absolutely not, but we can help students to find those that are most interested in them and also to learn how to communicate with those who may not have ever worked with undergraduates before. Students are not limited to researching within their major. I had a student last year who is a music composition major working in a neuroscience lab. And amazingly, the year before that, I had the complete converse, a neuroscience major who wanted to get involved with music composition theory. So I love that I have that example to give you, but it is absolutely possible to research within your major or toward what it is that you're looking for your graduate school or your career, but it's also possible to be doing things that are passion projects completely unrelated to your studies. Now, how do students go about this? We see all kinds of paths. Some students, as I mentioned before, are not actually expecting to engage in research while they're undergraduates. We probably won't see them, where they may come to one of our events or chat with us, and then they're not actually going to engage. Some students, and we hope many, many students, are going to come to campus and have what we think of as a traditional first year experience where they're trying lots of different things, and there is no need for students to rush or feel like they're behind or that everybody's getting ahead of them or that they're going to miss out on opportunities if they don't engage in research in their first year. However, there are some students who are so eager to start, we hear from them as soon as they've accepted their offer from Hopkins. In fact, are some students who may have already started working with a Hopkins researcher while they were in high school. They are very rare. This is the exception. And if your student tells you, oh, everybody's ahead of me, please remember that this is probably confirmation bias speaking, and they are doing just fine. They do not need to rush. There are some students who are involved in lots of things. Maybe they're going to do their research for credit that's required for their major in their junior year. There are students who might do a research experience early on, take a break, come back to it. Some students may start in a particular setting and then stay with that particular researcher or team and grow a deep relationship and learn how to do more things and contribute more meaningfully. And some might try a toe in the water in one place, one and done, or in several different places. There's no one right way, and every path is unique. Every year we do unfortunately meet students who do have to complete research for credit, which means they need to have engaged in 3 credits in their fall of their senior year and spring of their senior year because they just didn't happen to get around to it. And yes, our can help those students as well. I don't think we've ever assisted a student who needed to delay graduation or was not able to graduate because they were unable to complete their independent research for credit. So with all of that, the overriding mission of our is to create equitable access to impactful research opportunities for all Hopkins undergraduates. Again, the research is there and it's happening. The students are amazing. We help put them together. So what does our offer JHU's undergraduate researchers? Well, in working with Hopkins undergraduate researchers and the students who want to be engaged with them, what we've done is we've identified 4 key milestones in a typical undergraduate research journey. The first is students need to identify what the resources are or the opportunities. The kinds of opportunities that we're talking about most frequently is a research experience with a mentor. Somebody brings you in, they explain what they're doing, they build your interest in it and provide you with certain skills so that you can eventually contribute meaningfully. But opportunities also mean funding. Opportunities also mean a chance to go to a conference. Opportunities might mean in-kind donations of equipment or software that a student needs in order to finish their project. So opportunities can be a wide range of things. I'm going to shorthand probably for this talk and talk about mainly finding a research mentor. Um, Once you've identified the opportunities that are available, you need to secure them. If it's finding a research mentor during the fall and spring, there are going to be best practices that students can follow in order to communicate effectively and present themselves as great candidates for this opportunity. If it's funding that they're seeking, same thing applies. There are best practices and there are going to be guidelines and rules, and we help the students understand how to successfully secure the opportunities that they've identified. Then following that, once they secure them, optimistically saying, then they need to navigate that experience. Sometimes it isn't easy being a part of a research team or working with a sole mentor. Sometimes communication isn't working pretty well, or you don't understand what it is that they're asking of you, or there's some sort of an obstacle or a barrier to participating. Our can help the students navigate those kinds of situations, as well as the ones that are going optimally. Finally, having a research experience is not the be-all and end-all. Many students, of course, are checking a box. Okay, I want to apply to med school or a particular graduate school program, or I'm going into a particular career where it will be important for me to show that I engaged in university level research. But there are ways to most effectively parlay that experience to get you toward whatever it is that you're hoping to do next. Maybe it's more deeper, meaningful research in that area. Maybe it's moving to something that's aligned or even completely away from. Maybe it's how to effectively present this work that you've done on your resume or your CV, how to get it published, how to present it at a conference. Those are all ways that you are leveraging the research experience itself toward what you would like to do next. So again, identify, secure, navigate, and leverage. Those are the 4 key milestones that our helps students navigate, and the resources that we have are focused on those 4 areas. So for the purposes of our talk tonight, I'm probably going to be focusing mostly on secure because that's the one that is the biggest challenge and it's the entry point for most students. It's important for students to know that our is not a matchmaking service. They're not going to come to us and say, I'm a mole cell bio major and I want to do XYZ when I graduate, and I'm particularly interested in ABC, and we'll pull up a set of names and say, here, contact these three people. Instead, we provide students with resources and best practices for them to learn how to do this themselves. We prefer to teach our students to fish rather than hurl fish at them. Um, I'm going to quickly go through these slides. You don't have to hear all of these bullet points because you're going to receive them, but we do try to reach students in lots of different ways and lots of modalities. The information is provided in recorded webinars, live workshops, pamphlets, brochures on our website, self-paced materials online. So there's lots of ways for students to connect with this helpful information. At the same time, it's useful to know that the underlying theme that the students will hear over and over again is there is no one right way. I think I've already said it twice. There is no one right way to undertake their research journey, but there is a comprehensive set of tools and best practices that JHU students can optimize their own experience. These best practices apply to seeking fall and spring typical research opportunities. What I described before, maybe 6 hours a week, whether it's compensated or not, or for credit, but also summer opportunities here, elsewhere, things that students want to do later in their lives. The best practices that we try to instill in students are going to be useful to them as they go forward in their careers and in their personal journeys. Our student-facing website has almost everything that I'm going to say to you today and everything that we provide to students. And that is really a great entry point for most students, and it is available to the public. These are some of the other resources that we provide to students. Some of them are behind a JHU login. Not everybody who's here today at this webinar will have a JHU login if you're friends and family. And not all of the students, I think, have been given their JHU email address yet, but as soon as you have your jhu.edu email address, you can access all of the tools and kind of the uh, behind the gate resources that are available only to Hopkins undergraduates. Now, I'm just going to give you a very, very brief overview of some of the resources that are available, and only in that first milestone of of identifying and a little bit on securing a research opportunity, just because I want you to have a taste for the kinds of resources that are available and what your students might be seeing if they come to our or make use of our resources. So, for example, we have tips for seeking positions and mentoring. Is every position mentored? Not necessarily. Are all mentors offering, very rigorously defined positions? No, sometimes it's just come and hang out. And if you're interested, you can ask questions. But in general, there are resources and best practices for identifying the kinds of experiences that are typical for undergraduate researchers at Hopkins. We like to refer students to two primary entry points. One is, as I said, our website, and the second is a database called Forager One. Forager One is a database in which there are, I think at this point, 6,000, my numbers on here, by the way, are a little outdated, but about 6,000 key Hopkins researchers, mostly faculty, but some are research staff who are listed in here along with all of their interests and their projects and so forth. They can indicate that they are actively recruiting, but even if they're not actively recruiting, they are available to your student to contact. As of this coming fall, all Hopkins undergraduates who are enrolled full-time are also automatically added to this database. They no longer have to go in and set up a profile. It's already going to be in there, and they can click in there and use this as a basic tool for identifying potential research mentors. When students come to we can give them tools and tips to how to optimize the information that's available in these places. For example, our website has a get started place, and in there we explain why you should prepare and how you can prepare just for even beginning your search, how to contact potential mentors, how to behave when you're meeting a potential mentor, what do they need to know about compensation. These are all on our website, but students can also come and talk to us about it or attend a workshop or view one of our recorded workshops. Some of the kinds of things that we talk about with students are, what do you need to think about before you even begin your search? What are your interests? What's your motivation? Are you doing this just to check a box? Have you had a lifelong interest in this particular area? What are the logistics and the practicalities that might limit or direct your search? For example, do you have enough time this semester? Are you going to travel to a different campus? Do you like to work in a clinical setting, or do you like to work in the community? Do you like to work theoretically, or do you like to work in a practical, hands-on manner? What about compensation? Do you actually require compensation, or can you afford to volunteer? How many hours? Which, of course, we brought up before, hours being the coin of the realm. Undergraduate students work on two major currencies. One is time and the other is food. So we always need to remind them, you do have limited time, and magical thinking about time is not going to magically make you able to do this particular thing. All right. When it comes to using Forager One, it's really important for students to know that there are best practices associated with that. Sure, they can go in there and they can make themselves, they can add information to their profile and they can seek people who are looking for undergraduates. But if they come to us or they read the best practices and tips, they will learn that, for example, maybe it's not a great idea to use any of the refining tools on the left-hand side. And yeah, it's cool that somebody's actively recruiting, but it's not really essential that they be actively recruiting in order for you to identify them. But it's really, really important to use keywords and to figure out how to even identify what keywords you're looking for, and that also you can bookmark faculty and various other aspects about this particular platform that they might not know if they just click around. So again, coming to see us or looking through our materials will give them a leg up on just clicking around in there. And then we also point out to them that there are many, many other ways to find potential research mentors. This is just a few examples of the ways that they can find people at Hopkins who are engaged in research that they might be interested in. All of this is leading toward them knowing how to communicate with these folks. We have best practices around that. I can't tell you how many times a student comes to me and says, I did all kinds of background research, and then I sent 40 emails and I never heard back from anybody, or I heard back from two people, and it turns out that they weren't taking anybody. And then I say, well, did you go to our website and do the get started steps? No. Okay, go there, do the things, come back. And then when they follow the best practices for seeking a potential mentor and really making sure that it's well aligned with their interests and their needs, and then communicating effectively with the famous 3-sentence email, they come back to me in 2 weeks and say, I sent out 5 really well-targeted emails. I had 2 interviews and I got an offer. So that's very heartwarming for me. But the key thing is save the time and effort, follow the best practices, and you will be much happier. Suppose you're not seeking mentored experience, but you're seeking funding and programs. Whole different story. One thing we again need to recognize is that at any given time in fall and spring, maybe 5% of the undergrads at Hopkins who are engaged in research are actually getting paid for their time. That means they have a student job through the Student Employment Office, and it happens to be with a researcher or engaged in research, and they're earning the Maryland minimum wage at least of $15 an hour. That's wonderful, but that's only 5% of students who are engaged in research at any given time in fall and spring. At the same time, 10 to 15% are receiving academic credit, and this is considered a form of compensation because they could be doing something else with those credits. But that means that 80% at any given time are entirely uncompensated. They are volunteers. So that means sometimes students need money in order to actually be able to engage in their pursuits. Our has some funded programs that we promote to students, and there are other funded programs both here at Hopkins and that are funded outside of Hopkins, and we are happy to help students obtain those kinds of fundings. The ones that our sponsors include PURA, which is the Provost Undergraduate Research Award. It is a fall and spring academic year awards. It's very competitive. Usually students have already engaged in a research experience at Hopkins in order to be capable of creating a proposal for this very competitive and highly regarded program. A novice is not likely to be able to get funded, but we want to encourage everybody. There is also a summer Pura program, which is essentially the same thing, but it allows the student to engage in their research full-time over a summer. At the same time, in the summer, there's the BDP program. BDPs are a specially endowed faculty professorship that allows Hopkins to bring some of the best and brightest from all around the world to be Bloomberg distinguished professors. They're often working in a very interdisciplinary way, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. The program that our has encourages BDP faculty to bring in students who have been either underrepresented or have missed out on research opportunities. So this is more for the novice researcher. The students who come to Hopkins and say, but I didn't have an undergraduate, a high school research experience, so I'm so far behind. No, you're not, and you are good enough. We have a Catalyst Award. This is for groups that are engaged in public health oriented projects, and it's really more of a I need to make a widget or I need to make a prototype of something. It's to bring a project to the next level. The next program that I'm going to tell you about is a pilot that we have not yet even announced, but I do want your students to be aware of it. For students who have federal work study awards, and some of you may not know whether you have one or not, but students who have federal work study awards, some of them end up not using those funds because they don't have time to work or they didn't find a job that accepts their federal work study. We want to make sure that every student who wants to have a research experience can, even if they feel like they can't afford it. So we're working to convert some of these uncompensated experiences using the student's federal work study award into a compensated experience. This is going to be a pilot where we're going to be focusing on seniors first, and then juniors, and then sophomores who have not yet had an experience. So your incoming student is not going to be a candidate for this program this year, but if it's successful and we get more funding, I want them to keep this in mind for future years. We always send students to all the helpful places that we know exist. We can't do all and be all for everybody. So there are many, many resources both here at Hopkins and out there in the United States and all over the world that allow students to find funded opportunities, funding for their projects, access to world-class researchers, travel, conferences, materials that they may need. You'll notice there's a lot of science, 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 but we also try very hard to make sure that the humanities, social sciences, soft sciences, arts are all represented as well in the portfolio of information that we have available to students. In addition to that, we give students an opportunity to share. Students love talking about their research. So among the opportunities that we give them, we have a, a fall and spring presentation event called REAL, which stands for Research Experiential and Applied Learning. It used to be called DREAMS, which was a really tortured acronym, and it used to be a actual tangible poster session for 3 hours in a gymnasium one day a year. And if we had 200 students, maybe 40 people would walk through. Now we do it on an online platform. It lasts for a full week in both fall and spring. And if 200 students are presenting, we get well over 1,000 visitors, including mentors, other people who are interested in their particular work, their colleagues, their classmates, friends, and family. So everybody can come and see. The students do give formal presentations, and many of the departments now allow students to present at Real as part of their qualification for graduating with honors in their degree program. We have various other presentation events, but they are ad hoc. One of my favorites is the Crossroads series, where we bring together a group of students who are engaged in completely different disciplines, but organized around a common theme, like heart or sight or something like that. And then we have a moderator who is very interdisciplinarily oriented, who allows the students to talk about their research and looks for common themes. Outside of there are many places on campus and in the other divisions at Hopkins where students can present their work. And one example is the Richard Maxey Symposium, which is a world-renowned humanities a symposium that is housed here at Hopkins. And in addition to that, we are members of the Council on Undergraduate Research. It is the national undergraduate research professional organization, and they are every year increasing the offerings that they offer directly to undergraduates throughout the United States, including opportunities to present regionally as well as nationally. And so students can feed right through the university membership to those kinds of events. And then right here on campus, we're always interested in building the community of researchers. So we encourage students to join our undergraduate research community on campus groups. So campus groups is the platform that the university is using for student engagement, meaning student groups must be present on this platform, and that's how students find the groups. There are somebody can correct me. I'm sure Tara will be able to. Um, I think there's well over 500 student groups. I'm not sure all of them are for undergraduates, but our is proud to have been the very first non-student group on campus groups in that we're, professional office, but we encourage students to join, and we do have the largest undergraduate student group. This is the way that we actually communicate with students. We do not send weekly emailed newsletters. We do not promote things all over the place. Students are over communicated to and under informed because there's just so much coming at them. But if students join our on-campus groups, they will receive one or two very strategic newsletters per semester. And our students know that, oh, I'm hearing from I'd better open this. There's going to be crucial information in here. So if your student is interested in research, please encourage them to join us on campus groups. The other thing I want them to know about is this wonderful resource called the Imagine Center. I happen to be sitting in it right now, speaking to you from here. It is a building at the very north end of the Homewood campus. It is very, very student friendly. The top floor, which is the ground floor, is completely student oriented. They can reserve spaces. There's group meeting places, individual little comfortable study places. And this is where you can find the peer offices for experiential learning, all located here. You can attend workshops and events, and there's a good one, free coffee all the time. So please encourage your students to make the hike up to the top of the campus, right next to the lacrosse field, to enjoy the Imagine Center. There are so many wonderful offices here at Hopkins. Sometimes students are amazed that they have a particular problem, and I'm like, well, there's actually an office to help students with that. Really? Yes, we want you to succeed. So here are the kinds of places that we refer students to. As I said, our peer experiential learning offices, which are all located here in the Imagine Center. ERSCA, this is going to be an interesting one. If you are a Krieger student or a KSAS, Krieger School of Arts and Sciences, there is a whole research office just for Krieger students. It's called ERSCA, the Office of Undergraduate Research, Scholarly and Creative Activity. What's the difference and why are there two of them? Our serves all Hopkins undergraduates, Whiting, Krieger, and Peabody. So Peabody students, as I said, engage in research or are interested in research, they come to us as well. We offer a wide range of resources and services, very toe in the water kind of experiences, all the way up to and through graduation. ERSCA provides a very curated experience for students who are interested in applying to their funding programs, and they work with the students all the way from they start with their interest in applying to a particular program and work them through the process of applying, and then they also oversee the project itself. Very different experience. We are very complementary offices. We offer complementary services. Students can go to both ERSCA and to our office if they are Krieger students, and everybody who's not a Krieger student can come to our office. It's important for students to understand that this is a research institution. That means that the librarians at the Eisenhower Library and the several other libraries that the university has are available to them to help with their research. That's what they're there for. Research librarians are underutilized by undergraduates, but they would love to be brought in. They would love to be taken advantage of. The university has a writing center, which is fantastic. There are peer educators and professional writing staff. We often will send a student to the writing center for some fit and finish on to polish up any of the writing that they're doing that is related to their research or to advance their research. And then again, CUR, the Council on Undergraduate Research, we want our students to be aware of what kinds of services and tools that they provide. There are so many more. These are the ones we most frequently refer students to. Um, so then that kind of leaves with like, well, then what are the students asking questions about? I was actually trying to prepare myself to become a subject matter expert in a lot of things because students come, I assumed they were going to be coming to me with research related questions. The reality is the students really are anxious. They are anxious that they're not good enough. They're anxious that they're starting too late. They're anxious, am I doing it right? Do I have enough experience? Am I good enough? Do I have enough time? What if I mess up? And by the way, everybody messes up. And is somebody going to be mad at me? That's really what students are coming to our and to many, many other helpful folks here at Hopkins for. And so really, in addition to everything that I just told you about, the main thing that our provides is reassurance. We reassure students that they are not the first to walk this path. They are not behind. Now, if they are behind, I'm going to be real with them. I tell them the truth, and then we develop a strategy to help them get back on track. We're not sugarcoating anything, but the reality is that students just want to make sure that they're doing it right and that they're not offending anybody and that they're not missing out on any opportunities. And that's really what we're here for. How to contact we encourage students to come to office hours. They are daily, Monday through Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m. Baltimore time, any day that Hopkins is open. So if Hopkins is closed for winter break, I'm not offering office hours. But during the summer and intersession and any other day, I'm actually the person who hosts office hours. And they do not need to make an appointment. They can grab the link on our page. It's also promulgated on everything that we publish. So anybody can drop in to office hours. If they want to make sure that they can have privacy, because drop-in office hours means there may be other people there, they can also schedule an appointment directly with either myself or our director, Tracy Smith. Those links are available also on our website and in every way that we communicate with students. They can email us. We do recommend that students who are interested in a research-related response email our@jhu.edu rather than myself or Tracy, because frankly, we answer that email much faster because we know it's a student who needs something, whereas our work emails, which have our names in them, they're our peers, and our peers can wait. But we do encourage students to join us on campus groups where there is a forum that students can talk to each other in. And we ask students to connect with us on social media. You'll notice that our social media consists of Instagram, that's the social one, and LinkedIn Professional. We have dropped most other social media because frankly, we are not seeing students there, nor are we seeing the benefit of them being there. We do encourage all students to have a professional presence on LinkedIn because surprisingly, many, many, many opportunities are made available on LinkedIn and many networking opportunities happen on LinkedIn. Now, That was me talking with a wall of words. I would love for you to hold me to my commitment to give you information about the history, scope, and current climate for undergraduate involvement in research. I think we did a pretty good job of covering that. And let's see what else. What research entails for undergraduates. Often people are going to ask me, well, what does it look like or whatever. We can talk about that during the Q&A. How essential it is to explore your own expectations before seeking opportunities. Remember that there is no one right way for you to explore or engage in your research journey. And I hope that I gave you a very brief overview, just a tiny little smidgen of the resources that are available to all Hopkins undergrads. Um, not just from our, but from the many, many other offices. While we're doing Q&A, it would be so great for me if you would answer the post-webinar survey so that we can know what we didn't tell you that you would like to have known, or what I belabored too much that you didn't need to know, because am very responsive and I will tailor this talk based on the feedback that people give me. At this point, I would love to open it up to questions. And I think that Fabiana is going to moderate the Q&A. Fabiana, are you with us?
Hi, yes.
Yes.
So we had a specific question. It goes as follows. You gave examples about how students research outside their major. I wanted to go ahead and ask if this was very common and whether this affected the requirements that they may have. So I assume they're asking about some majors that have research requirements and whether those research requirements are only for, let's say, BME research, or if you can do music research instead.
So for the majors that require students to engage in what's called independent research for credit, and now there's an acronym CAL, and I believe that's customized academic learning for both Whiting and Krieger, and they've worked to make sure that there's parity between those two divisions so that students have similar experiences. Within those majors, those credits that are required for their degree must be in their major. And not only that, their academic advisor, or in some departments, their DUS, their director of undergraduate studies, is going to be both the gatekeeper and the navigator of that experience. So I can help a neuroscience student find a research experience that will be eligible for credit, but I end up usually, after giving them some tips and best practices on how to find somebody great, I end up sending them to their DUS to make sure, because our never wants to be responsible for a student not actually graduating because they didn't get the credit that they want. Now, independent of that, any student can engage in any research experience that they can that they can put together in any major, in any discipline. In the case of the students who need academic credit, it would be on top of or in addition to those experiences. And for other students, it would just be what they're doing. I can actually see the questions in the Q&A if you'd like me to go ahead, Fabiana, and just answer them in order, or do you have a particular order you'd like to go in?
Yes, you're free to go ahead and answer.
Okay, so
Thank you.
somebody asks, when's a good time to start undergraduate research? And I'm going to give you the answer that I frustratingly give to students. There's no one right answer for that. When's a good time to start undergraduate research? The first day you walk onto campus, or the fall of your senior year, or it's going to be different for every student. First of all, why are they engaging in research? Do they need to check a box for something that they're doing later? Do they need multiple semesters? Are they trying to build experience over a long period, or do they just want to have a one and done? So I can't really tell you when the good time to start undergraduate research. But if your question is more like in a particular semester, when's a good time to start? Faculty do think in terms of semesters, even the folks who are only dealing with graduate students and the undergraduates come in and join. Generally, you want to start at the beginning of a semester and commit through a semester. They are thinking in terms of semesters. So joining in the middle of a semester is very uncommon. If that wasn't a full enough answer, please go ahead and add to the question. All right. I already sent an email to a professor at Hopkins, but haven't received a reply yet. Should I reach out through Forager One again? Do professors more often check the request through Forager One? Please navigate to the Our Get Started page on the website. It's facing public, so you don't have to have a JED login. And note where we talk about how to follow up, right? So first of all, did you do the optimal 3-sentence email that has 1 sentence about you, 1 sentence about your understanding of their life's work and why you're enthusiastic about it? And then the third sentence is a call to action. Can I meet to learn how I can join your research? If it's more than 3 sentences, because that's what fits on this device that they're reading their email on, they're not going to answer your email. So let's go back to the basics. Do the best practices. Now, once you've sent an email and you haven't heard, we have best practices for following up. Take a look at the page and the tab that has following up every 3 to 4 business days, exactly how to do it without seeming like you're a pain in the butt, but that you're just a conscientious, responsible person. But yes, you should follow up, and you may have to follow up 3 times before you actually get a response. All right. Thank you for hosting the webinar. Is our open during orientation week? Not only are we open, but we're going to give a presentation on Thursday night that will be the probably most well attended. I usually have about 800 students come to that. It'll be in Shriver Hall. I just got the commitment. It's 6:15 on Thursday. So be sure to come. And also you can come to office hours or make an appointment with us during orientation week. Do students work with professors or with graduate students? How can they find this out before reaching out? You can't find out before reaching out. Sorry. Professors are busy and you never know if you're going to get the sage on the stage or the graduate student. But here's spoiler alert, graduate students are really great mentors. All right. So you won't know before you reach out. You won't even know until probably you have a meeting with the PI or the graduate students and actually ask that question. But if you're interested in the work, you should still reach out. What does it typically look like for mentors to have expectations that students have completed certain classwork or have prerequisite knowledge before a research experience? Can you sometimes be limited by not having yet reached a certain level of knowledge? Absolutely. Most research experiences require zero interest and a lot of enthusiasm. The student needs to be able to show that they've done enough homework before even reaching out with that 3-sentence email that they can demonstrate, I kind of understand what you do. They do not have to have a PhD or professional level of understanding, but it's like, oh, you're trying to find a novel treatment for these horrible brain tumors that kill children. This seems really important, and I'm excited by whatever that novel thing is. So it shows that the student has done some work. Do they know anything about these novel treatments? Of course not. They are undergraduates, often freshmen or sophomores. They are not expected to know. One thing that is absolutely wonderful, though, is the admissions office has a reputation for only accepting students who are good enough. Everybody who is accepted by Hopkins is good enough to engage in the world-class research happening. They have to start out learning the basics. But they're, in general, the vast majority of those research experiences have zero prerequisites, but lots of enthusiasm or interest must be shown. Now, there are going to be some cases you maybe saw on Forager One where somebody has a posted project, or they have a part-time gig actually listed, or they just say, I only want students who've already had organic chemistry 1 and 2, or they know how to do Python. They will let you know. Those are the minority of opportunities. Usually these get started experiences are just open to any undergraduate. How do I find paid research experience? The one that 5% students participate in. So the University Experiential Learning Office is the student employment office. Anybody at Hopkins who's offering pay to undergraduate students must post their project there. So if you're looking for an opportunity that is a paid one, you'll be going to Smile. That's the platform that they use. I think for this coming year, I know they're switching over, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. But look for University Experiential Learning, and maybe Fabiana or Tara can put the link to that into the chat. And use keyword searches, research, or whatever the keywords are for the subject area that you might be interested in. Is One Hop another place to find research opportunities, or are Hour and Forager One the main resources? I would say keep open to the idea that everything is a potential resource, and what One Hop is that is the engagement platform with alumni. If you've graduated from Johns Hopkins University, it is highly likely that you are doing something related to research, academia, or some sort of highly skilled profession. Those people are a gold mine of opportunities. Are they going to have tons and tons of research opportunities you can engage in fall and spring? Not as likely, because they're all over the world for one thing, and they may need somebody who's half time or something like that, but they are often a good entree to a summer experience or to crucial mentoring. Here's what it was like for me. Here's the path that I followed. And they love working with our current undergraduates. Every time I do a project in collaboration, any sort of programming with our friends at Hopkins Connect, is the actual office that runs One Hop. The alumni just tell us how much they love working with the current undergraduates. So please go ahead, create your profile on there. Do it as soon as you have a JED or your Hopkins email. All right. For clinical shadowing, are these opportunities limited to senior students? Can freshmen apply? Clinical shadowing is available to anybody who's here. Clinical shadowing is not actually considered research per se, because the whole notion of shadowing is you're quietly standing there and observing. However, it is something that many of the paths that students are following post Hopkins require some sort of a clinical shadowing experience, or it's good to show that you've at least attempted to see what this field is like before you're applying to be a graduate student in it. So yes, these opportunities are available to any Hopkins undergraduate, and we can help you, push you in that direction, but we will also probably send you to Jump, which is a super wonderful student program that has several different clinical shadowing paths. Do you recommend looking for research with a specific interest in mind and search for the keywords, or browsing Forager One to find projects? Oh, yes. The answer is there's no one right way. I will talk to a student during office hours or during an individual meeting, and I'll ask them a bunch of questions to find out, do you have already a special interest? And then I'll show them some tips on how to pursue that particular interest. And often while we're doing that, other things come up. But sometimes students are like, I'm a whatever major and I hope to do X, Y, Z when I graduate. And I throw out a few kinds of things that they might want to do. Usually the expansiveness comes not from thinking about the discipline, but from the experience, the kind of experience you want to have. Do you want to be working in what we think of as a wet lab, or with things doing things to other things? Do you prefer to work with people, a more clinical experience? Do you prefer an epidemiological approach? Do you want to be looking at large groups? So for example, if we were talking about pancreatic cancer, we could be looking at cells, we could be looking at patients, we can be looking at communities. Who is disproportionately affected by it? How are they receiving treatment? Once we talk about that, that opens up a whole lot of doors. What is the typical weekly schedule for research to reach 6 to 10 hours? Do students need to work longer hours twice a week, or can we work 1 to 2 hours during evenings? Some students are putting in 6 hours on a Saturday. Some students are taking the shuttle over to the East Baltimore campus to feed the rabbits on Saturday because guess what? The grad students don't want to do it. That's date night. Some students are here on the Homewood campus every day for an hour. So it just varies dramatically, and it will be important for you to learn that you can assert your own agency. And when you're having this interview with your potential mentor, you can say, you can ask this question, and then you can say what your preference is. And you don't need to be afraid. If it turns out that they need you for A and you're only available for Z, then you're going to need to either adjust and become more flexible, or you're going to need to say, well, thank you very much, but I can't do A. I need to do Z. Can research happens at the Johns Hopkins Hospital, or is it mainly set on the academic? I'm sorry, I didn't read that all the way out loud. Is it mainly set on the academic setting at the university? The vast majority of STEM, pre-med, and pre-health profession research opportunities actually do take place on the medical school campus or at the Bloomberg School of Public Health or even the School of Nursing, or not even at Hopkins, but sometimes the University of Maryland, or during the summer anywhere in the world. But there are many, many opportunities available on the Homewood campus. And since you said hospital, I know that you're thinking STEM and pre-med. I also want to point out the same applies for the liberal arts, social sciences, and humanities. Hopkins has 9 divisions, I think 10 now, and they're not all here on the Homewood campus, but they are all available to our undergraduates. Phew, I think we raced through all the questions and it's into 7:59.
Hi. Thank you so much for sharing this information and teaching us more about the undergraduate research opportunities available at Hopkins. Before we conclude, do you have any final pieces of advice for incoming students who are interested in becoming involved in research?
Yes, my final piece of advice is please use the QR code to do the survey. Please use the link that I just put into the chat, but also please take advantage of all the resources that not only our has on our website, but also available interpersonally, face to face. But come and ask us about some of the other things that you might want to know about if you can't find them. Everybody in student affairs and anybody who's facing undergraduates wants to make sure that you have the fullest possible experience you can. And the saddest day is when a student is nearing graduation and they walk into a new place and say, huh, this exists. I wish I knew about it 2 years ago. So please take advantage of every opportunity that you can find.
Thank you so much again, Deborah, for sharing your time and insight with us this evening. To everyone who joined us, thank you for attending. Please remember to sign up for our coming summer webinars and programs. We hope you have a wonderful evening and we look forward to welcoming you at Hopkins soon. Go ahead and see in the website. If you want to see the recording, it should be posted in a couple of days. And enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, folks.